Welcome to DevOps Accents, a podcast on everything around DevOps, public cloud, and cloud-native topics, with your hosts, Pablo, Leo, and Kirill.
Hello and welcome into another episode of DevOps Accent, a podcast where we, the co-founders of mkdev, get together to discuss all things around DevOps, cloud-native technologies, data, AI, and all the things that surround us while we are working in the IT industry. And if you remember last time, we've been discussing platform engineering with Sergio Petain, and this topic is one of the most interesting things that we are discussing internally with our customers, with our clients. So we decided to dive deeper into this because we understand how important it is. And we already discussed the basic of what it is, if that even a thing, or it's like a new entity that we invented to justify our existence and our high salary. But today we invited the very honored guest and a friend of ours to discuss platform engineering in more details. Please welcome Jean-Francois Landreau.
Hello, how are you doing?
Very good. It is so much pleasure to have you here. For those who don't know Jean, or also known as JFL, many people know him under this acronym because he's a renowned person in the industry. He has spent 25 years developing software and platforms for financial industry in kind of different capacities with different success, from basics to more complex things. He has a master's degree in computer science and another one in business administration. He's now working for AWS, helping customers build their own internal development platforms on top of it. And today we're going to discuss with him his experience and his deep knowledge for platform engineering. But please bear in mind, even though he's working at AWS, he doesn't represent their opinion, and he welcomed here as a friend for the most part. So, hi, John. It is again my pleasure to have you here. Anyway, my first question, like the traditional one for our guest, because we are known as DevOps Accents podcast. So what's your accent?
What's my accent on DevOps? I don't know. Well, I started working on that many years ago. And I think I started right at the beginning of my career. One of the topic at this point in time was how you integrate the work of multiple developers. So simple, developers who are developing in C++, how we make all this work together. We are sitting next to each other, but developing independently. And you needed to have that working together. And then during the span of 25 years, well, it totally evolved. So it was not only, hey, I need my compilation to work with the work from the other developers. Now I need to have this working for the web. So it's going to scale possibly infinitely if we are successful with the application we develop. If we meet our customers, a lot more requirements came into the plate. So DevOps, it was at the very beginning for me only continuous integration, making sure that all the work from developers would function. And then it's a lot more requirements came into play. And I think that's the reason why we come to platform engineering today, because of this increase in number of requirements that are expected around the development.
From my side, we started when DevOps was a thing. Before mkdev consultancy appeared, there was a period where the term DevOps started appearing, and we had to spend a lot of time explaining what DevOps is. For you it was two things that happened to your career throughout the years. One thing, you work as usual, then this DevOps happens. and you have to change the way how you work. Now, platform engineering is happening, and you have to change your way how you work again, or you perceive it's more like an evolution and an organic way of things?
Well, I think it depends. It depends on your personality, on what you're interested by. So for me, from the beginning, I was interested to make a team of developers work together on deliver software to production. So I was not only interested by, I have my nice features, it's working on my side. No, I wanted to see it delivered on production. So when you have coded, there are more work to do to have it in front of the customer. And then naturally, when you think about that, you start to go toward what we discovered later, DevOps. And then you realize, okay, now not only I need to push to production, but it needs to be secure. It needs to be highly scalable. It needs to be resilient. It needs to be user friendly. I mean, that many requirements and you need to do it fast. So you need to keep the agility. You need to continue to release frequently. And that's where you need to constantly increase the support for the developers so that some of them will continue to focus on the features, but still it goes to production meeting all these non-functional requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, it was not, there is DevOps, it's a new word. What is it about? Well, it was actually a bit, what is DevOps? What are they talking about? And then looking, well, we kind of do that already. I mean, not totally entirely, but we are pushing in that direction. And then platform engineering. Oh, okay, well, actually, we have been doing that kind of a bit for the last few years, but now we try to understand that better. So it's not like a paradigm shift, but for people that are not following the flow, wow, what's going on? A new word? What does that mean?
Yeah, totally understand. And but do you feel you still have to explain to a lot of people the concept of it? And basically this is what you are doing, like in your career, with your talks that you hold and with the media that you create.
Yeah, is it about so the DevOps? And I think I'm past that. I mean, there was Agile. I think it's part of the words Agile, DevOps, maybe platform engineering. I'm not sure if it follows this path, but yeah, it was difficult on. But I would say it's in the past. Kind of everybody understand Agile. Well, it doesn't look exactly the same as I experimented it 20 years ago. But anyway, then DevOps, everybody kind of understand what that means. Now, platform engineering, what I observe in some occasions is that people develop some anti-patterns. And then that was my concern. I was feeling, actually there are more hindering their path to speed, agilities, and really improving their position. So that's when I got interested about this book that we've delivered. Yeah.
And what the book is?
So it's a platform strategy. So written by Gregor Hopper, an ex-colleague and a new colleague. I mean, we work together. He hired me at my ex-employer, and now we are working together at AWS as well. And another colleague from my ex-employer. Gregor is the main author, and we contributed some chapters to the book.
Can you tell us and to our listeners a little more about the book and what it is about for who are the people who would want to read this, and most importantly, who need to read that?
Well, I think there are probably different categories of reader. There will be decision makers, and they hear about platform engineering, and because they are a bit far from the technology, they may not fully understand what that means. Maybe they have some of their teams talking, we need to have a platform team. What does that mean? The book will help them understand what that means, what are the decisions to be taken, what are the difficulties at a high level. So they understand what the technology teams are talking about. And then I think, for many technology teams, so architects, developers, platform engineers, so understand when they decide, we should go to build a platform, we need to have an internal platform, we need to develop platforms, understand what that really means. Don't jump simply because maybe it's a buzzword today, but really be prepared and realize, that will mean all that. So let's be prepared. Let's establish a strategy. And the book, as all the books from Gregor, they are not giving you direct answers. It just helps you to think about the problem and probably highlight the blind spots you have about this topic. So areas you didn't really consider, and now you realize, maybe it's going to be more difficult than I thought it would be at the beginning.
So it's not like a guide or an instruction how to implement and build, like step-by-step instruction.
No, yeah.
Because what I was thinking, and Kirill will understand what I mean because he wrote a number of books as well. And I was thinking, like, when you write a book about like a technology or something, a concept that appeared recently and constantly evolves, it takes few months or a year at best before the book is outdated. Because a new version appears, something changes, something evolved, and then you read it. Now this is not how we work anymore. This is not working. A new version appeared, and they changed it. Don't you think this will happen to this book as well? Like it will be relevant in a few years. Like there is a risk.
Difficult. I totally understand what can happen for technical books because it evolves very quickly, so you can be out of date fast. I think what Gregor tries to do all the time is to make sure that it doesn't give you direct answers. So it helps you to think about the problem, and generally the problems are not something that are changing fast. The solutions are changing fast, but the problems are not changing so fast. So it's just highlighting what are the problems you need to solve and how you can think about that. On this, I think it has, a life, a duration or a value, which is longer than when you say, hey, this is a solution. Well, this is a solution for today, but probably in 1 year, it's not going to be the solution anymore.
I think in this case, what's also good is the decision to publish the book on Leanpub, because you are free to do any kind of adjustments. Because that's what, I had this problem with the Terraform book that I wrote many years ago, is that it's basically impossible to update it when you work with the big publisher. And I think that's the case for many, many books that are published by like Pact or Really and these publishers, that it's really hard to update your content. Like once you publish, you probably that's it. Yeah, they don't have a really good process for you. Like most people buy PDFs and ebooks, but as an author, you cannot really just go and update. So in case of Terraform book, it's written for 0.13 Terraform version, and it's just ancient. And reaching out to the publisher, they just won't let you update it. So then there's like lots of IT books that are just obsolete, not because author did not update them, but because that's how this traditional publishing industry works. So, but I think also like what you said, like the platform strategy book is about principles and how to make the right decisions, not about technology. So it should be an evergreen content for many years to come, and not something that will it won't change if Kubernetes disappears, for example, because the underlying concepts will be the same. And the process of deciding if you need the platform, how to build it, should be the same.
A few concepts are going to stay. What I observed already since we wrote the book, I looked into that yesterday. Like developing an internal developer platform. It's a complex task. Generally, you use Kubernetes. Many companies, they use Kubernetes, they use Argo CD, they are going to use the open source stack from CNCF, Cloud Native Compute Foundation, and they are going to Argo CD, Backstage IO, a few other components. And they actually may run that on a cloud vendor, so let's say AWS. So it's still a lot of pieces to set up, glue together, adapt to your specific need. And then there is a lot of platform engineering. But yesterday I discovered, actually the CNCF proposed an implementation of an internal development platform based on this technology. So now you have a template, you have a Terraform, you deploy that, and it's going to deploy the whole platform for you. And they even provide a command line to make it easy to deploy. So is the need for platform engineering going to stay? Mm-hmm. I believe so, but it's going to evolve. And maybe it's not going to be Argo CD or all the components I've mentioned. Maybe it's going to be something else. There is generative AI going everywhere. It's going to be part of these platforms. So is it going to last long, this platform strategy? I think some elements like the difficulty to create an internal development platform may be reduced. But at the same time, there are always new things coming in, and so you will still have platform engineering, you will still have complexity, and the concept, I believe, will still stay at least for the next 3 to 5 years.
And what do you think your reason was to take part into writing this book and in general speaking about this? Like, is it a personal urge or a professional thing more, or do you think that people need to be educated on this part to make your own work easier? So what was the reason?
I think the reason for me was I've been working on this topic for a long time. I realized, what did I do in my career? Well, I took different roles, but the line that I followed was always platform. I always worked on this topic. So as I said, continuous integration at the beginning, then DevOps, then platform engineering. So then I had the opportunity. So I knew Gregor. I knew he had started this book about platform engineering. We worked on some platform in the past together. And I really thought, okay, interesting to think about that and try to understand better what I've done. And that's the path to learning. Huh? You read a book, you learn a little bit, but very little. Then you put it in practice, you learn more, and then you teach it to others, and you learn even more when you do that. And that's more the trying to understand even better what's going on here.
So it's like they say that when you try to teach someone on something, you learn it as well in a better way. It's true in that case. But when it comes to practical implementations, and from your own experience, let's dive deeper into this, because like this book provides you the overall concept. But when it comes to actual implementation, are there differences? What are the dependencies? What are the technologies we are using? And is it even possible to discuss technologies, or they are changing as well, and you have to pick and select depending on a lot of things and what those things are?
So in the book, we didn't discuss too much about technology. So you may, I think we mentioned from time to time Kubernetes. We mentioned, we reference some other books actually, or some website like the CNCF one. There is a lot in the chapter I wrote. There is a lot of references to the book Team Topologies. And then you already see, so platform, it's not only about technology. There are many things going around, the organization, the strategy, how you establish all that. And the book really doesn't give you a recipe. How do I build my platform?
Yeah, I mean, but outside of the book and like in real life, I know there is a number of tools and there is a number of companies that help you build your own platform and make it easier. As a team starts, you don't have to build the platform from scratch from your own every time you start a new project. Like there are already technologies that help you to build the platform. Is it true?
Well, yeah, as I said, like CNCF, they propose you an internal development platform. Right now, they have a reference implementation. I think you can find it under cnoe.io. I forgot the acronym. But if you are in the Kubernetes world, they provide you elements. If you are attached to a cloud provider, let's say AWS or Azure, they have a lot of components already that you can use. They kind of provide you also a platform for developers. And there are other options. In the past, I mean, it has been existing for a while. And I would say the first platform for developer is maybe Heroku. So more than 10 years old on the Pivotal Cloud Foundry. So they were the first platform for developer, making it really easy for a developer to deploy something to production or at least in a test environment so that you could show only in a few days an idea to a committee that will decide if you get some budget. You could go a lot faster with these platforms already. And yes, you don't have to build everything on your own. I mean, 10 years ago or more, a bit more than that, I built my first platform for developers and testers at the companies I was working at that point in time. And then there was nearly nothing. It was the beginning of the cloud stack, open stack. You could run on your premises, and you had the cloud vendors, but it was still very thin layer. And then came Heroku, Pivotal Cloud Foundry, and then this concept of internal developer platform came to fruition.
Okay. Well, it wasn't even considered as a platform before when you first started doing that. Like it was like building an environment for the developers, and it's only now you call it a platform. It's a switch the concept.
I'm not sure, yes, which vocabulary we use at this point in time. Actually, some years ago in the company where I was working, we talked about a platform where the management came to us and said, we are going to build a platform for our products. So we have many products, we will put them together. It's going to be a platform. And from this platform, we are going to create a set of products. So the platform word, I heard it for the first time in the context of IT in 2007. But when I built this platform around 2013, I don't know if we gave this word. Yeah, maybe it was not yet fully present.
What I saw from AWS side, at least in the last couple of years, is that I think there was like realization that there is now enough services on AWS, and now it's time to actually build a bit more like simpler abstractions on top of the services. And there are lots of not lots, like around 3 to 5 open source projects led by AWS where they try to wrap things up with something more developer friendly. Like one of my favorite products from AWS in the last 3-4 years in general is AWS CoPilot, is where they basically give you a certain way to structure up. So it's like you have an application, you have environments, and application consists of multiple services. And then you have only 3-4 types of applications. So you have background worker, and then like a web application, and now they added the static websites. And that's it. And then all of this duct taping, which is usually like a big part of DevOps work to like duct tape lots of things together, is already handled really well by this tool because it does the multi-account really well. It does all the IAM permissions really well. And then as a developer, so we use this tool for our internal service, mkdev. It's really easy to get started. And it's actually, when I look at what it does, it's pretty trustworthy how it does these things. in a certain way. And another example is the serverless application model, which is like similar to CoPilot, but to do it for serverless applications. Of course, in this case, now again, there is like two ways to do things, two different abstractions, because CoPilot does not do Lambda, and serverless application model does not do ECS and containers. But still, it's just so much nicer and easier to work, to deploy stuff quickly, because it even connects to pipeline. So there's like a separate pipeline concept in the CoPilot. So you can connect your GitHub repository, and then the amount of knowledge, let's say, a small team needs about AWS is just much lower. They can just take CoPilot and get up and running really quickly, like with Heroku back in the days. Or with was the most fancy modern platform like Fly.io or Vercel, but without the like a 50% price increase on top of computer resources that these new platforms have.
There are no challenges that we couldn't overcome. Whether it is immediate infrastructure problems or planning a future project, we won't simply answer your questions. We become a part of your team to help you complete the mission. Our solutions consider the interests of your business and the combined expertise of the industry, as our staff is made up of more than a dozen experts in different areas who share decades of field-tested experience and knowledge with you.
Yes, we have a chapter related to that, which is called Are you going to build a sinking or floating platform? Because as you said, well, the cloud vendors, they go where the customer's pain is. Customer needed virtual machines at the beginning, and then databases, and then message queue, and it expanded horizontally. But then they realized, it's a lot of services. It's a lot to do for the developers. The developers need that because they develop more complex applications, because the customers using the application request that. But so the cloud make it easier to build these bottom layer elements. But as the complexity of the application increase, the developers still had a lot to do. So you need to go up the stack now. And that is what people in companies do when they build an internal development platform on top of a cloud vendor. And then the question is it going to be relevant in 2 years' time? Because the cloud vendor may cover this space. So what are you going to do in that case? Are you going to cover the space which is not yet covered by the cloud vendor, and you evolve your platform, you make it float? Or is it going to sink below what the cloud vendor is providing?
I think it's in general a big issue, not only in terms of turning developable platform, but when you work on some kind of solution on top of cloud vendor to connect multiple things, and then the right moment when you push it to production, the next day the cloud vendor releases, now we have a new feature that basically does all of this with like a checkbox, and then 1 month of work just wasted. And it always happens that you first need to actually invest time into building this solution, and only then they will be released from the cloud vendor. It's never that it happens on the right time.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty on the cognitive load for the developer. So everything is easier than many years ago. I had to set up servers, I had to set up databases, I had to do all this setup, and it was taking a lot of time. Now you don't have that to do. But now, before I had a system, it was running on one server. I had my application, my database, easy. Now you have systems that are distributed, that requires not only a database, but multiple ones, message queue, all this. So you need to learn new things. And then people simplify that because, you are again losing some efficiency. So you gain again in efficiency, but then at the same time, you need to build even more complex systems. So we are always working at the edge as developers or platform engineers of our capacity. It's not that a new technology like generative AI is coming. It's helping us, but at the same time, we have even more complexity to deal with. So it's not we are going to get retired tomorrow because of generative AI. We have to build more complex systems because the customer expects even more features on the, yeah.
But I think that for the platform engineer in the future, I'm not talking about this 2024, but maybe 2026, 2027. What I can see with all these tools, like, for example, what Kirill was telling with CoPilot, AWS CoPilot, and all kind of tooling with the AI, I can see that it's going to be less and less work to do, because at the end, it's going to be more the architecture part, and even not this part, because for me, I can see that this is going to be more like, imagine in a company, like the manager is going to be needed because he needs to give the idea of what you want to have. Because at the end, for a company, as bigger is the automation, is better. Because I'm not talking about AI, I'm talking about the automation. When you make bigger the automation, the company receives benefits because there are less and less repetitive themes. And when you go to this future, for me, I can see that it's going to be more like that everything is going to be, test writing. I want to have that. Unless, what you were telling in 2007, that imagine when you had to make a machine, you had to do installation, you need to prepare everything, wow, it was crazy what you had to do with every machine. Even you naming the machines, because after all this job, for sure, it was like a kid, I got to call Saturn or whatever thing. And I can see that now day by day is less and less work. And more and more, concept of really what you want to do.
I would disagree with this part, actually, because I think in terms of platform engineering, I feel like it's way more work. Like when you look at platform team, it's like introduced like 10 years ago, the databases on premise, there would be a separate database team that is they just handle the database server and they make sure that it scales and everything. Like 3-4 people just taking care of the database. And there's a networking team. Now in the cloud environment with and the cloud native stack and platform team, the platform team is expected to be really good at observability, handle all the DevSecOps topics, set up networking in the cloud, take care of all the databases and how they scale. So it's all of these things are within the platform team. Plus, on top of this,
can be automated, all these things. There is nothing that you're telling that cannot be automated.
For sure, but that's currently the team needs to know more and more because still the DevOps part is still there. So the same team also needs to understand how the software is being released, the pipelines, plus have all the soft skills to understand how to work with developers, how to treat platform like a product, because it's not the silos anymore. So you're also always in a close contact with the development teams and the product teams. Plus, you need to know how to build products.
Yes, but I was talking 2026, not today.
For sure. But if you look at the tendency in the last 10 years, it went from something like knowing 5 things to knowing 50 things.
And in 2026, it's like 500 things you have to know.
Just take the topic of observability. 10 years ago, metrics. And on metrics, you have alerts. And metrics are just, if it's more than 80% CPU, get an alert. Now you have like anomaly detection. You have the traces. Then you have distributed tracing from many microservices. So within each area, it's also all the time more and more to learn and to know and to set up. And with the platform engineering trend, it's not anymore many different teams. It's platform team taking care of most of the things.
And I think it follows the evolutions in the end. And I'm not sure how it's going to be named. Maybe you're right, Pablo, and we are going to have another name for the platform engineering teams. But because when I started, it was only continuous integration. That was the main topic, because we had one server, there was a database, I had set it up, well, it's all working now, I just need to update my software. The main pain, making sure that the developers working independently have their code put together in the monolith and delivered to the machine. So it was CI. And then it evolved, it became DevOps, because maybe actually you were not pushing the software to the machine and you were not setting up the database. There was another team doing that for you. So only having the software pushing it on the other side of the fence, and it was not working so well. So you started to develop DevOps to make this flow smoother. And because the complexity grows, and it's not only one server now, it's dozens of servers, hundreds of servers doing different things, then you need a platform engineering team. Then it's not sustainable if we don't improve the situation. And we always improve the situation. So building an internal development platform is going to get easier. But still, there is not going to be one internal development platform for everyone. You have many different companies, many different contexts. Some are regulated, some are startups, some are greenfield, some have a lot of legacy. So because of that, there will still be some kind of platform engineering to implement. Then is it going to be still called platform engineering? Maybe we will have another name. Maybe it will be, I don't know, development efficiency team or...
But my point is that today we are in the point version 0.01 of whatever this kind of automation news that appear now in the market. Imagine the version 3.0 in 2026, 27. This is what I was telling. If imagine the iPhone, what it was iPhone version 1 and what it is able to do today. If you go to this abstraction and you are able to, I can see that day by day as a, imagine, company owner, you don't want to have 3 platform engineers, 5 DevOps, I prefer to have one guy, an automation that is controlling all the things that I need. Because in this case, I'm going to save. I'm going to pay more to the cloud for sure, but I'm going to save a lot of resources, and the biggest expenses in a company always is the salaries. So at the end, I think that this is the industry wants to go to this path because it saves for them.
Totally agree on I think for many small companies, and the cloud has been adopted by startups at the beginning, and it was allowing them to go faster and to have also an alignment between the revenues that they were making and the resources they consume, so their costs, their IT costs. So it allowed them to develop themselves. And then came the enterprises. They came to the cloud and they have a different context. And I think in these companies, they have big teams and they may be okay with a platform engineering team. So they don't react exactly the same for a problem. Often they say, oh, well, you know what? This service, well, it helps me a lot, but is it going to respect the rules of my regulator, for example? Can I use CoPilot for me? Does that work?
No idea. It was only a guess what could happen in 3 years, 4 years.
But I would not assume that anything in the DevOps or IT field goes like the iPhone, that every year you get something better. If you look at the easiest developer experience and the fastest way to deploy apps, fully automated without zero DevOps, you have Heroku, which was out in 2009. You do git push, it's deployed, and it's horizontally scalable. You have zero maintenance. And that's, again, it was more than 10 years ago. 15 years was the first, and it's still there. And somehow in 2024, it's still not the standard experience we get. Because for small companies, for sure, plus there is this newer platforms like I mentioned, like Fly, Vercel, and similar ones that are modern Heroku alternatives. And many small companies should just go there because, yes, you will pay 5 times more for compute, but you have zero extra people maintaining this. But let's say for the huge bank, which has 2,500 applications from 40 years ago that have very complex databases, etc., and workflows, in 2 years, you will not replace them with Heroku, plus all the regulatory environment requirements.
I think that's what kills the story for this platform. Well, we use PCF, where I was working before for a while. So Pivotal Cloud Foundry, so a platform like Heroku. And then at some point in time, we realized, well, for production sensitive application, is it going to work? Is it going to scale? Are we going to be able to manage all the situation? Does it provide all the features for all the scenarios we have? And the answer was, well, no. And then the answer was traditional cloud vendor providing a bigger palette of possibilities. When you make the choice, you have a bigger palette of possibilities. You are going probably to meet your regulator better, but it's also more work, and it's always this trade-off. So what do you want to, what is your priority? And I agree, I think for many small companies, well, I can only focus on what is really differentiating for me. So let's outsource everything that can be outsourced. For other companies, it's more complex. Well, I can't outsource my security. I can't outsource my resilience. I can't outsource a number of topics.
Plus, maybe I am skeptical about abilities of like bigger cloud vendors to really quickly bring us to this really easy experience. Because just yesterday, Pablo, if you remember, in 2024, we had to spend hours to connect the web application to the database or private network in Google Cloud, which is just crazy, right? It's a solved issue, and yet it's in a beta version. I'm talking about Cloud Run. It's just like ridiculous how many steps you have to do to configure a Cloud Run to connect to a Postgres database over a private network in like now 2024. So if you tell me that in case of Google Cloud in 2026 they will have everything automated and there is zero need for extra work, I won't buy it.
I agree with you, but I think that everything depends on where the money is. We saw yesterday what OpenAI made with this new video generation because they wanted to put money there and then automatically they can do what they want. What I mean is that if the market goes to this direction and the biggest cloud, AWS or Microsoft or whatever, wants to go to this one, at the end, I have to mind, but okay.
The thing is, they have many different customers. So the guys who decided to go for Heroku, okay, they adapted to the opinion that was put in the platform from Heroku. And they swallowed the pill and they were okay with all that. But many other customers couldn't swallow the pill. On the cloud vendors, they try to address all possible customers. So, and that's the reason why it's difficult to have the platform the internal development platform that will fit all requirements from all customers. I think that's impossible to build. Because if you build it, you are going to have that many options to configure to adapt to your need. And then, you need a platform engineering team again.
I think what's solved in general is this regular like 3-tier application. You have like a web app, database, and then background workers. This is solved on, like for this use case, you don't need any complex stuff. But if you look at like Internet of Things, if you want to connect digital logs to the cloud platform and do this kind of software, it's unlikely that some cloud vendor will build perfect abstraction just for you because it's a very niche use case. You have maybe 10 companies like this. So it makes no sense to wrap it with something like Heroku for Internet of Things. For some parts, yes, because they will like probably web interface within this kind of solution. But for majority of the technology, not.
Until somebody finds a way to standardize, and then everybody follows the same standard, and then you can start to have a platform for that.
That's what I was thinking. Like imagine some kind of platform on demand. Where you are starting a new company, you're starting a new product, and you don't want to build a big-ass platform engineering team for just building a platform. You just want to create a product and release it on the market and starting making money. So you purchase this platform as a service on demand, and inside you have these switches that you just enable the function that you need for your product and for your platform, and just make it happen, make it run, and your product, your app started rotating, and this continuous integration is working, server deployment is working, and you don't worry about anything. But getting back to what Pablo said before about where the market follows the money, right? And there probably should be a possibility to build, a platform on demand or platform as a service where you as a young company that wants to build a product and don't want to deal with all these platform engineering things and build a whole entire team just for the sake of building a platform for a product. You just want to build your product. You want it released, you want a new version rolling out and everything works fine, and you just pick whatever platform on demand you have on the market and you enable it, and there are switches that you just enable depending on what you need inside it, and deactivate everything that you don't need and pay some amount of money per month for the company, and you just already have this platform. And is there any company that is able to pull it off today or maybe in the near future, or we are still fighting over the standards and over the application that we need to use for the same things that and which makes impossible this kind of.
Yeah, I think there are many companies, many different requirements, so there is not one standard yet. And I think it's going to be difficult to have really one standard. Kind of the last time we established one standard, so many years ago, was with Docker. And actually, it's not like there was they established a de facto standard and then it evolved, there was an organization establishing the standards for containers. And it's not that there was money into containers. Nobody knew about that. But they delivered that, and everybody realized, well, it's going to help me. So all the engineers working on DevOps, they realized, well, it's going to help me. It's a good thing, and then it got standardized. And then sometimes when you get standardization, then you can have a lot of innovation around it. Mm-hmm. And it happened, you have a lot of innovation around Docker. So you can say there is a second standard, which is, around containers, there is a second standard, which is Kubernetes now. But still, and then it developed innovation around. And now you want to set up a Kubernetes cluster, which is useful for you. You need to take that many different decisions. So it's always the same. So maybe you have a standard, it triggers innovation, and then you have new problems to solve. So it's a never-ending chase. And I think for platform, will there be one single platform for developers one day? I don't believe so.
Because at some point I was thinking, I really believe that AWS and GCP, Google Cloud Platform, they basically were providing you with that solution. Like you are connecting to a Google Cloud Platform, you are enabling it, you put everything there, and then you have so many services inside there, and you just activate or deactivate the services that you need or don't need. And I genuinely, at some point, I thought that they are building this, but apparently they're not.
I like how Azure and Cloud Run, they took the next step in standardizing Kubernetes, because both Cloud Run and Azure, from user interface, they are not really Kubernetes, but it's actually based on, you can just upload a Knative YAML file to both. I think in Azure it's also Knative. So in this way, it does not matter which cloud you use. It's just this YAML specification, or the standard way to run the application is there. But that's right now as far as it goes. And probably the difficulty is that it's not about the technological standard, because with containers, so Docker created a really good way to run things. And then there was all the specification with the Open Container Initiative. But for something like platform, we're not talking about technology, or not only about technology. It's more about process and how people communicate with it. And it's hard to put RFC on this kind of thing that will work for everyone. It's even on the level, how do you call a set of containers with the same code? Do you call it service or application? Already here, lots of people would pick different terms for how to describe it.
But when you work with a company that build more or less similar things, for example, I don't know, there are a number of companies that build chat applications for messengers, right? And you can expect more or less similar technological stack that they use, and you can expect that they all of them use more or less the same platform to run this application. Is it even for them, it's impossible to predict and to build a universal platform for the application like that, or for web store where you are purchasing things, or for IoT, Internet of Things. You build a platform to build application for refrigerators.
Maybe when it's possible to really standardize this way, then, like you said, web store, then something like Shopify appears, because that's the ultimate standardization. Once you can really standardize all of the parts of the web store, you don't need to run it yourself. You have something like Shopify, you just open your shop. That's the kind of ultimate standardization around particular product. But if you take the chat, if and compare like a Google chat, the Slack and MS Teams, completely different feature sets, even like look similar, but very different products implemented very differently. And then these different requirements for infrastructure underneath.
So when we are building a platform, we first thing that we take into consideration is the product that we are building using it, not the technologies that we are going to use. Like it's always about the product, right? In the end. And the complexity of it and the scale of it and the number of users that we are going to have.
Yeah, it's always the same. What is the problem you are trying to solve?
I guess I'm trying to look at everything from the point of engineer, from the point of manager who tries to simplify the way how we work, because I feel like it's from the manager's perspective, it's hell when they have to manage not only the product that they are selling and they're making money with, but they have to manage the internal platform engineering, which is a product. Like you have to treat your own platform as a product, and you have new versions, beta versions, and now you have to manage two products and two different teams who build two different products. And it sounds like hell, and I'm looking like for the ways to simplify. Like we know how to simplify the development of the product. We already have the pipelines, and now I'm looking for a way to simplify the platform engineering and how to build a platform in a more simple and efficient way without reinventing thing for each individual product.
But when you have set up a good platform engineering team, and they manage to develop the right product for internally for the different application teams, you can really run a lot of application teams on top of the platform engineering team. And that's where it makes sense. If you are a small company, no need for a platform engineering team. Go to a cloud vendor, find the ones that provide you everything you need. Maybe you need to, it's going to limit your capabilities, but it's fine for you. You need to deliver your product. It's not that you want to use all possible fancy features. You need to deliver your product.
I see. All right then. That was kind of very interesting discussion. I learned more personally, and I hope those who listen to us learned a lot as well. And like one last thing, Jean, for those who would love to learn more about platform engineering, about you and what you do, where they can find you and where they can follow you?
I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I have also an X account, but it's I don't go to X so often. But yeah, I'm mostly on LinkedIn. I think we will be able to share the link. And that's where they can find me. And I'm going to talk to a few conferences. And Gregor and my other colleague who wrote the book, mkdev, are going also to be around in Europe to present the book and present the topic.
Okay, nice. Pablo?
No, I only wanted to. Do you have any date, or do you know?
Yeah, I forgot the dates, but there is the CI/CD days in Paris, where normally I should be able to attend and present, and it's going to be in April, I think the 11th. And then there is DevOps in Athens in Greece. And then it's going to be the 18th of April, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, and we will make sure to have all the links in the description. And you guys who listens to us, don't forget to subscribe, because you don't want to miss the next episode of DevOps Accents. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast on all the different platforms. And once again, I want to remind you that the best way to not to miss anything that happens around us, not to miss thing that we release new videos, is to be subscribed, not only to all our social media, but also to mkdev Dispatch newsletter that we release bi-weekly with all new stuff that happened around us. And for those who listen to us, thank you for joining. Thank you, Jean, for joining us today and have this great conversation. And you guys, Pablo, Kirill, thank you for joining us. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do you think your project infrastructure is well set and maintained? We know for sure there is always room for improvement. If you are uncertain where to begin, let's first do an audit of what you already have. We will review your setup from every angle: performance, cost, security, high availability, and automation, and provide you with a detailed roadmap of which direction your infrastructure should go, generate concrete tasks for you to implement, or even take on your infra entirely, if you let us, of course.